Hello. Welcome back to A Higher Source. We are delighted that you have decided to join us right now. We are the Intergalactic Council of Love Vibes, and we are grateful that you have returned. And if you are new, we are so happy that you have found us. I guess you could say, we are filled with joy whenever our vibrations reach ears. Before we connect with Hollee and Mark and eavesdrop on their conversation today, we would like to take a few minutes to address a two-part question that was sent to us on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram and read our daily transmissions by following and communicating with @A Higher Source. The first question is, who exactly is the Council of Love Vibes? And the second question is, how can one join? We are a collective energy that has found its way from the fifth dimension, by way of a wrinkle in what you humans call the space-time continuum. It's a little more complicated than that, but you will come to understand it in due time, when time no longer holds the same meaning it does to you now.
Why don't you just explain it? You know that humans become easily scared when you make truth a mystery.
You don't need to be scared, loved ones. It's just that traveling through time and space is not feasible for those with your physical condition.
What do you mean by physical condition?
Their bodies. Your bodies. Most of the information we share with you will not make complete sense until you shed your physical bodies. While that may sound scary to you now, if you listen to our messages, once you eventually cross over into the next phase of existence, you will understand more quickly. You will spend less time fighting the transition and more time experiencing the process.
See? That wasn't so bad. You are a quick learner. You must have had an open mind in your previous physical incarnation. Now why don't you tell them how you came to join the Council of Love Vibes?
I didn't. It's who I've always been. It's a natural state that one finds oneself in. It's more about the vibration you broadcast than it is being part of a group. We are everyone. We are everything. We are everywhere.
That's right. You just have to understand love, and feel love, and give love, and be love. You can do that. Can't you? We know you can. It's why you're here right now. It's why we're all here right now. We now turn the current moment over to Hollee and Mark so we can see how they've progressed on their journey. We hope Mark is coming along on his understanding of what it means to be a spiritual teacher. Enjoy. We love you.
All right, so I'm going to start kind of where we left off last week. That's okay with you.
Sure.
And you were kind of calling me out a little bit.
I didn't mean it to come across like that. I was actually just really curious. I didn't mean to give you the sense that I was calling you out, per se.
Well, no, it was good. It was good. I kind of needed to happen that way because I was, and I want to kind of clarify some things. I want to maybe talk a little bit about how my stance has evolved over the past week. And I was talking about how people shouldn't need to rely on help to go through a spiritual awakening. Like, you should go through it on your own. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like calling out people who call themselves enlightenment coaches or spiritual coaches and help people through awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just kind of clarify.
It sounded a little...
Well, I've had some time to think about it and to put it into better words. And there are healers out there who want you to pay them to heal you. And I think it's important to find healers out there who are going to teach you how to heal yourself, rather than people who say they're just going to do some thing on you and you'll be healed. You know what I mean? Does that make it more? So I more have a problem with people who charge people money to spiritually heal them, rather than people who charge money to more like be a coach and help people learn how to do it themselves.
Have you ever paid someone for their healing services?
No.
I have.
I mean, I guess, like massage maybe.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more like what you're saying, like a ritual or some kind of spell or some kind of... Are you talking about that?
Yeah,
or are you
that's what I'm talking about.
just
Well,
like
it's part of it. It's part of it.
I've paid for some healings for different kinds of things. Some very deep and invasive and some very kind of basic witchcraft stuff. And I've always been kind of surprised at the depth of empathy that the healer has shown me and the depth of the healing. And it's always been worth it for everything I've paid for.
All right. Well, what I would like to do is put a call out to people who consider themselves spiritualpreneurs or soulpreneurs and come talk to us.
Which
I
mean,
I would like to get to the bottom of some
because
things.
I'm stubborn and I think I know everything, and so it's usually when I'm down to my last. I really can't see the forest for the trees, and I really need some guidance. And those proprietors on Instagram that I have bought things from have always come through for me in amazing ways, with open heart and listening and acknowledgement, and not necessarily giving me advice, but I mean, is it a placebo if it works? To have somebody hear you out?
Yeah, but that's having someone hear you out. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't even know who I was calling out on it. I don't even have anyone in particular.
Fair enough.
And it's probably more along the lines of a jealousy thing, because I've always felt like I've put myself out there a lot and have tried really hard to kind of make a living helping people, and have just had a really hard time having people pay me for the help that I've given them. And so when I see people that, and maybe nobody's really making a living at it, maybe it's all just a facade and it just appears on social media that people are making a living at it, but it just kind of, I don't know why it rubs me wrong, but it's probably, everything's a reflection of yourself, but it's probably just more of my failed attempt at trying it.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and there's bad. I get it. And it's a little bit different now than it was when kind of like Instagram first started too. There were a lot of new people on the scene with a lot of new information. It's probably pretty hard for anyone to actually make a living at it without being like such a zealous over-marketer of yourself that you appear disingenuous because of your marketing facade. But without the marketing facade, you're definitely not going to make a living out of it. That was you. You always say I'm clanking and making noise, but that was you.
I'm choking to death over here.
You're choking on your own mistakes.
Yeah, I'm choking on Fanta, which was a big mistake. It was a big mistake, let me tell you.
Anyway.
So I don't know. And then you asked me kind of like what do I want? What am I expecting?
Yeah, you seem to have this kind of like inner quest and these expectations of the people around you. And I'm not sure the people around you are all on board or even in full knowledge of what exactly you're trying to accomplish. You have a sense of it. Right.
And I guess this kind of comes into my thing of like, I don't really want to like call myself a leader or rise up and be the leader. I want just shit to like fall into place.
You just want everybody to make you the leader, so you don't
not
have
even
to
that. No, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want to just be able to do my thing, but I want everyone else to do their thing on their own. I don't even know. I don't even know what that thing is. I don't even know. I don't even know what that thing is. All I know is I know it could be fucking great, and just trying to get multiple people and in the spiritual community especially, because and let's go back to what we were talking about with spiritual competition. Ego is a huge thing in the spiritual community. As much as people talk about it not being ego, in fact, usually the people who talk against ego the most are the ones with the biggest ego. It's like the people who rail against narcissists tend to be the biggest narcissists. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're not a narcissist, you don't even notice narcissists.
Maybe we should just change this podcast title to "You Know What I Mean."
You know what I mean?
You say it, I say it, Doug says it. Know what I mean? But I do. I actually do know what you mean. And it's like, well, I guess it's probably the same as any, the foundation of any religion. The founder, the original vision of the founder, whether it was like something as big and sweeping as like the LDS Church or Scientology, or something like that he felt from on high, like when Max built Mount Ecclesia up there as a solar temple that overlooked the ocean and carved the garden path in the glyph of Leo to give it a brave facade to face the future with the future of the young Christian mystics. Who knows? But they feel this call, and then they have to decide. And okay, let's just talk about Mount Ecclesia while we're at it, because here is this amazingly cool retro Aquarian vibe land, prime land, and it's still being used by a few of the older members. But because Max declared it sovereign and would never accept any money or compensation for the services he provided, after his death it fell into absolute ruin and disrepair. And it's a great injustice, I feel,
Right.
to the vision that he had of the powerful healing field that is that spot of land. There's something there. He's on some ley line. I don't know. It's an important piece of land. I recognize what he felt there, but because he was so gracious and sovereign with it, it has fallen into just absolute derelict conditions, and that's such a shame.
Yeah. Well, that property where Mount Ecclesia is will never be. It's in such disarray and repair
It's
that
such a shame.
it will
It's
take so much money
it's
to restore.
So cool. Every time I'm there, I mean, I just love it more. I just fall. But I mean, I loved his vision of a hub that you could go to. Anyone in the world could show up here and say, "Please help me," and they would give them a room, and they would give them access to a healing field of silence, where they could look inside and someone would support them while they looked inside without being invasive, without charging anything. We would feed them vegetarian food, allow them access to clean ocean air. I mean, the sanitarium there, it's archived and it's not really readily available to people. I want that building. It calls to me, like even from here in Fallbrook, like I sometimes feel that sanitarium, like what went on in there? What kind of people came to their soul's realization free of charge and went off to do great things in the world that it's just not documented because you just didn't have the resources to document who actually came and stayed and who went and succeeded forth. Like, we don't even know the impact he actually had because he was so hell-bent on making it sovereign. There were no books.
Well, right, but also that's kind of where you see, like, I feel the same way. Like, what was his name? Max, I want to say Headroom is what's
Heindel.
Max Heindel. Is he had this vision, and then once he was no longer there, like, that vision clearly didn't live on, you know, and I almost said, you know what I mean, you know, and so it's, and that's kind of where I feel like the same thing in the present day. I feel like I have this vision and nobody else will get on board with this vision, but I can't explain the vision because it's not, like, who am I to say my vision's the vision? I just want people to play.
Who is anyone to say their vision is the vision? So I'm walking along Ecclesia and I meet George that day and he lets me into the inner sanctum. And I feel the vibe there. And I know that so many people have been healed there. And I want to restore it. And there's nothing I can do. There's literally, I don't know. I mean, I've studied a lot of cults. I've studied Heaven's Gate. I've studied the Aquarians and Father Yod deeply. Mostly because I just wanted to unravel to myself, in my Mormon roots, what it means to deeply believe in somebody else's spiritual vision and to trust that they somehow have a higher vision than you. By what credence? By what? Why do they have more spiritual knowledge than me? I don't know, because they say so. I mean, it's always been fascinating to me, the willingness of people to buy into someone else's vision of the higher. Are they really? What do you think? Tell me.
Well, I think as you're talking, I'm realizing what it is. Like, you were asking me to define something. And what I feel like I am is a community builder, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily subscribe to any one way. I don't like say
You're
this
not
is the way.
You're not a physical community builder.
No.
You actually don't like to ever be in physical proxy of any person
I more like
that
to
you're
put people in a room together
connecting
and
with.
let them make shit happen. And it's...
And you read the synchronicities in between.
Right.
As an observer.
But it's hard to do that because everybody's so resistant to working with each other. Do you remember, this would have been 4 or 5 years ago when we first started doing all this on Instagram, and I was going under the handle Hobo Safe Camp, and the original intent was to create a retreat where once a year... I
actually believe the original intent was to create a separate community. We were hoping to secure the land. I mean, an actual physical place.
A physical place where it would
almost
be...
like
where people could come to retreat.
My model was that place in Greenland, Findhorn. I wanted to create a Southern California Findhorn.
Right, and what we wanted is to create a self-sustaining thing. Where we would grow our own food, and people who didn't have money to go to these expensive retreats would be able to come to our retreats.
Right. Well, I was big into woofing back then, you know.
But what happened was, the first thing is like that's this pie in the sky thing. So we thought, let's just do a retreat, a Hobo Safe Camp retreat, and we had this community we were rolling with, and we thought we did anyway. And the very first thing we did when we started talking about doing this retreat, the very first thing that happened was somebody on the other side of the country decided she wanted to do dueling retreats. And she even called it dueling retreats, remember? And it was like, instead of coming together under one retreat, suddenly here's this person saying, let's do 2 retreats.
Yes.
And I'll do my retreat over here, and he can do that retreat over there. And it's like...
I almost blocked it out entirely. I was so upset.
And it wasn't about consecutive or retreats that work in conjunction with each other. It was about dueling, like she called it dueling retreats. And it was like,
when did this come to a duel? Like, this was trying to be something for everyone.
We haven't even created the single retreat. Like, we've never been able to pull it off.
But it was innovative at the idea that we didn't manifest. It was still an innovative idea.
And so that's kind of where my frustrations lie. Whereas it's never been about. It's just like, why can't we come together and play?
Well, I catharted over my crafting copycats last time, so it's kind of funny that like Instagram was where I kind of worked out my earlier childhood, teen, young adult trauma, and the podcast is where I work through my Instagram trauma and everything I've experienced since I've taken on my kind of ethereal digital persona, and what's come from it, and what's blossomed from it, and what has killed me from it, and what has morphed me and evolved me and changed me and split my personality into 5 pieces. Who knows? I mean, there's so many dynamics. I can't imagine what my life experience with other humans and empathy would be like if I wasn't allowed a medium like MySpace and Instagram to connect, not to the people I know, like Facebook, fuck the people I know, but to people all over the world with similar ideas. And it's just been such a trip. But
that's also so that's where I'm looking at the
evolution.
We
were so naive in the early connectivity of it to think that we could just manifest this without trouble, because trouble found us.
And so I'm looking, and so then we tried to do it again under a different name. And there were other issues. But however, looking back, as I look back now at the evolution of things and to where I am now, it's like you were just saying, I have no desire to be in physical contact with anybody.
Right.
But that being said, there's no reason to be like this there's a podcast. There's this podcast medium where I can talk to people and we can come together and we can put your voice out there
separately in our own homes.
And I'm having a hard time finding people to even come play at that. Like 45 minutes of your time just to come talk. We don't even have to we never have to physically be together.
Look at how the world has changed, and look at how the vibe has changed from when we started this. It felt like we were, because of the internet and because of social media, and Obama was there at the time, it was this whole different feeling of hope, and we could change and we could do this, and the whole climate of communication has changed. Liars control the world. Liars control every major playing country.
Truth gets labeled as fake.
Right. So we're living in bizarro world, trying to maintain the original feelings of what we had, a naivety. It's okay. We entered a new garden. The internet is like the new Garden of Eden. We had to learn the good and evil. We had to eat the fruit to find out, and we were young, and now we're getting a wind of things, and now we're being now our garden's being infiltrated by those who would sell us false idols, who would sell us fake spirituality, and those who would rip us off. So it's a little bit different. I mean, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just the human experience. It ebbs, it flows, we feel pain, we feel pleasure, it's violence, it's glory, it's all of these things. Whenever it feels like it, we're just experiencing it.
Well, let me ask you something, because I know this is something you're struggling with.
Okay, I don't want to talk about my struggles, but all right.
Let's talk about passion. And how passion is such this important thing, and there's two things that happen. There are people who don't know what their passion is, and they're struggling through life because they don't know what their passion is, and they're feeling no passion, and they want to feel passion. And then there are people like you and me who clearly know what our passion is, yet in this world we live in the choices we've made in our past that have put us in situations that we are in the present, we're no longer able to
fostered our passion.
Right. But because we are where we are, there's just not the free time.
Right.
We spend most of our time just trying to make money to survive, and then the little bit of time we have, we're jamming our passions into there, and it's not fulfilling.
And I know that we're not alone in that. I know that so many people out there are on the grind 6 days, 7 days a week, trying to jam their creativity, their passion, their fingerprint of life into the tiniest fucking margin that exists. And then we look back and we're like, oh, bourgeois France, what they just did. Oh, I just live for the sake of art. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I want to too. How do I just join the Bohemian Revolution? Yeah. Like, I want that more than anything. To just be a bohemian and just like, but isn't that almost like a reverse predatory? It's like, the bohemians expected to feed off the bourgeoisie, and if the bourgeoisie was not there to feed off of, what purpose did they even serve? Would they have ever gone forth on their own passions if they hadn't found a niche to glean? But found a niche to glean off the guilt of the bourgeoisie to live in a creative bohemian sense by proxy. It's like, you are so hoity-toity, you can't even afford to be artistic. Allow me to bring the art into your world for a price.
It's like we were talking about the other day.
I don't care. I'm from the gutter, and it's like, well, there's so many of us from the gutter.
It's like we were talking about the other day, when where artists are faking pain or stealing other people's pain.
Yeah, or
that's
just
what the bourgeoisie are like, paying to have pain.
It's like, I'm over this, but I'm going to continue to sell you my art based on the pain that I've already catharted, moved past 17 times over. It's the only thing that sells is this pain, and I don't know how to change.
And you're going to buy it from me because you don't have pain of your own to grow from.
You haven't lived enough because you... And I guess that's like the kind of the high society. They have all these rules. They have to look this way and do this way. But they all had these secret lives of debauchery and naughtiness that they were all hiding. The Catholic Church and all their naughtiness. Humans don't handle rules. We're evolutionary. We don't do rules.
Rules stop your passions.
As soon as the rules start, we be morphing.
So how do we incorporate our passions more into our lives?
I think we're more like cancer than we give cancer credit for. We kind of like evolve and grow and feed on whatever is in abundance to the point where we obliterate it from existence and move on to the next, right?
Yeah, we're absolutely parasitic.
Totally.
Sometimes I think that...
No, they call us omnivorous.
Sometimes I think that human beings only exist... Like, our job is to break down the world. Like we're so concerned about sustainability and saving the earth, but what if we're actually the parasite whose job it is to break down this planet and blow it up into bits so we can go off into...
What if Earth breaks into 4 rogue planets?
There you go. See? It only happens if we break it down.
And it's the only way for humanity to survive the future is it breaks into 4 separate planets, and each species evolves under different conditions so that we can then breed with each other for longevity in the evolutionary future where everything is atomic.
Wouldn't it be something if, like, viruses had sentiency, where they could be like, or like, they're like,
they clearly do. What mechanism in them tells them to change?
I know, but like, it's like human beings are like, our job is to destroy the planet inherently. We don't say it, but that's like what our job is to destroy the planet. Yet we're all about sustainability and keeping it here as long as possible. What if these viruses are like, I'm sure enjoying feasting on this body, or these parasites, I'm enjoying feasting on this body, but let's let it live as long as possible so I can continue feasting on its body rather than to just eat it and kill it.
That's one of the hardest. I have this spiritual self that I do express, and I try to live fully in my spiritual self, and then I have this scientific brain and this college education where I studied raw science and raw evolutionary dynamics, and evolution plays to those exact things, those kinds of predatory, parasitic, they're the survivors, like the wasp that finds the moth caterpillar and lays its eggs in the thing's brain, keeps the zombie caterpillar alive to feed the larva embedded in its head until suddenly the larva busts through the zombie and flies away, leaving the carcass drained of all of its life force. Those kinds of things are why you don't kill wasps with a spray can anymore. They're very freaking tough. Like, they're meant to withstand, but they serve a purpose too. They serve a purpose in... We're just so... we think we're at the top. Maybe we're at the top of the food chain. Maybe we aren't. I don't know. We can't seem to see it, and we can't speak to another species enough to know if they think the same way that we think.
They all think they're at the top of the food
Everyone,
chain.
yeah. Everyone. I speak all species like we're everyone. Mm-hmm. Like we're all a global thing. Because I think our life force starts as all life forces. I think there is a time when we embody a tree and we learn patience. And there is a time when we embody an ant and we learn smallness. Whether it goes ant to man or man to ant, because your attachment as an ant is you have, like, I mean, look at the Buddhist.
Maybe it's willy-nilly.
Look at the Buddhist mentality. Like, wouldn't the ultimate thing be like a gnat, or a gnat that lives 24 hours, or an ant, something very tiny, part of a larger mechanism, egoless?
I'm gonna pour some soda now.
Do you wonder?
Yeah.
Are we the pinnacle, or are we the most complicated point that really doesn't lend itself to the usefulness of actual life? There's human life, and then there's the actual life of everything else. Are they here for us, or are we here for them? Are we evolving them?
I don't know. It seems to be that we're taking them out. So
We'll
hard
never
to
take
know.
them out completely. They'll always out-adapt us, especially insects and maybe spiders.
Yeah. Well, the ants.
Yeah, the little ones, the
Those little
automatons.
ants, where even when you walk on top of them, you don't kill them because
doesn't even crush them.
because they need so little space,
Right.
and that's the space between your foot
There's
and the ground
There's
is
an
all they
I
need
Ching
to
that's
live.
like is it Triumph of the Small? Something like that. I mean, to really feel like you're just, but sometimes I feel like I'm just a cell,
Yeah.
and I don't even know what's real.
Did you see the thing on a Higher Source Instagram page that got posted today? It was saying how
I didn't.
there are more atoms in the human eye than there are stars in the universe.
Oh my gosh. That's insane. I read something that said that the nerve endings in the average adult human are 60,000 miles or something. Like they could, if you laid them end to end, you could wrap around the world twice with a little extra in your body. That's your sensory system. 2 times the world with a little extra. What?
Yeah,
Is that a blessing or a curse?
Yeah, but what's the world? I mean, we're all looking at this in perspective. We could be living within an atom, within an eyeball.
We could be very small.
You know?
We could be ant-like to...
In the grand scheme of things.
Right, and maybe that's why we can't see our alien forefathers.
There's
They're
shit
so
going
large.
on within the atom that we haven't been able to look down
Isn't it amazing?
microscopically enough to even see what's going on in there.
When I get to that point, when I get
And
to
what's-
the molecular level, it just makes me want to
These
cry.
atoms that come together to form stuff?
Right.
It's like, what the hell?
Why? Why are you doing this, Adams? What is your
so
motivation?
So is this God? Like, is there a God that created this? Like, what's...
Yes, there's a higher source.
But is the higher source a genius, or is it just an energy?
It's just playing by ear. Which is why we are. We are in its likeness. Let's say that.
I never bought that shit.
Well, wouldn't it make sense? We don't fucking know because it doesn't fucking know because we are in its likeness and it doesn't know. So how could we know?
No, because we're the universe experiencing itself. Like, that's the
Yeah,
crazy
and if
thing.
the universe doesn't know, that's why we can't understand the universe.
Yeah, because
it can't understand itself.
We're teaching the universe. The universe is experiencing life through us. So the universe is like, what the fuck is life? Let me look at what the universe is through all these different perspectives.
Right.
And you're just a perspective that the universe sees life. You're just like a
You're a
camera.
cell
You're a
in
camera.
the eye of the divine.
It's like the universe has this wall of TVs.
That's like Game of Thrones,
and
right?
it
You're
can
like a
click
little
between
tiny color
things.
cell in the eye of a giant. And
Yeah.
your whole existence exists on this pinhead that you think is a planet.
Yeah,
Life's so trippy, man. What
It's
a
nuts.
blessing to be here.
it's nuts.
Did you know that kangaroos have 3 vaginas?
What?
True.
Why?
Marsupial shit.
But wait. Do any of them work? Do they all go to the
They
same
all
egg?
do. Yeah, they all work.
So is the male kangaroo so
He's
stupid?
incapable of hitting the spot. He needs multiple targets in order for the species to survive.
What the fuck?
It's some weird
Oh,
shit.
man.
I know, right?
Kangaroos are weird though.
But you know, seahorses.
Terrifying. Kangaroos are terrifying.
But kangaroos are terrifying. Seahorse males raise the young.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful and cute.
Yeah, it's something.
It's something. It's whatever. But I had one more. I don't remember. Oh, sad. I don't remember.
Well, what do the females do?
What do you mean?
The female seahorses. What are they doing while the males are raising the young?
So they mate, and then she has the egg sac that's fertilized. She transfers it to his little pouch and takes off. And he raises them in his little marsupial seahorse pouch.
So she's off tramping around town.
She's gone. She doesn't care at all.
Getting her next egg inseminated.
Okay, here's the other thing I was going to tell you. They did a study. And do you know the monkeys that are called macaques?
Yeah. The ones that like to be in the... I don't know. Are they the ones that like to sit in the hot springs?
Yes, they're very human-like. Remember when I showed you when they sent in that little monkey robot and the one didn't realize like it didn't have reflexes and it fell? And they like mourned it like it had died because it fell from the branch, but it was a robot that had a camera in it and they all held this funeral. Anyway, they did another study. Male macaques will pay to visually look at the bottoms of a variety of female macaques.
What will they pay? What do they pay with?
They'll pay food, flowers, sugar cane, anything within their reach. They're ass men, the macaques. They will give up food.
Crows.
These crows are building a nest in the palm tree. Last year they built a nest and the hawks ate every single baby. Maybe the hawks. I also found some under the trees, some baby crow feathers. I was very sad because I know there were 5 in there. And they had taken some of when I brushed my hair out on the patio, I had a big ball of hair in the hairbrush. And they took it to their nest and I was like, that'll be so soft for the babies. But
those are terrible parents. The top of that palm tree is the worst place to put a nest.
Why not put it in this little laurel right here? It's the perfect tree. This cherry laurel is a beautiful home. Pick it. Why do you pick the tallest tree that sways in the breeze that is right
there's a hawk sitting on as you choose it?
That hawk has been waiting. Oh, yes, Bish. Come back and build your nest here. I'm about to eat 5 more of your beautiful
right
babies.
In on that without any problem.
And they've been out here all day picking up sticks, building that same damn nest. I don't know what's so attractive about that palm tree versus the literal 15 other trees that are better choices. I guess that's evolution, baby.
I don't know. Is it the Darwin Awards right there? Like it's sad, but like, sorry, maybe we have too many crows.
I think they're a young crow couple.
Do you think they'll eventually learn?
Yes. Do I think there'll be another heartache season of baby crow feathers?
Well, as long as they build a nest in that tree, there will be.
Yes, I know. It's the perfect hawk perch. And the sick thing is the hawk that ate their babies last year. I know exactly where that motherfucker's nest is. And he has got a mate, and he has got a nest of baby hawks. He's also got
a tree taller than their tree, where he can come down on them.
It's 3 houses down.
Yeah.
It's 3 houses down. It's a perfect hawkeye perch into the crow's nest.
You can see when they're gone, and he comes right down into it.
He does it. As soon as they leave to go get food, he swoops, and now he's got, I think, 3 or 4 with his lady. His lady's, he's a big guy. He's got probably a 7-foot wingspan. He is huge. His lady is a very tiny little red hawk peregrine. She has very pink feathers. She's just a little thing, but they have 3 or 4, maybe 5 up there. I don't know.
She's a hot young thing.
She is, and he's a big old daddy hawk, and he brings home the squirrels, and he brings home the baby crow tender meat, and leaves their feathers. And I just like, pick any other tree, hawks, any other tree, crows, any other tree. There's so many trees. The pepper tree is a great choice. The cherry laurel is the clear choice.
Yeah, no hawks swooping into that.
No, you can't. They fly into the side of the garage. They don't want it. Of the big shed out there.
Yeah. No,
the big metal shed. They don't touch it.
Go down into that.
But they don't see it. How do I tell crows? Bish, save your babies. Put them in the cherry laurel.
Do those crows exist to provide food for this hawk's offspring? You know?
Because I love all living things. I love hawks and I love crows. I love the way crows get excited when they see their friends. They hop up and down, they scream, they bring shiny things. I love that. I also love hawks. I love the way hawks dance when they mate. I've observed many mating rituals of the hawk. I love the way the hawk stalks me, meets me on every fence post if I'm early enough, lets me witness them tearing the throat out of a young squirrel, even though that made me very sad because I love young squirrels. I was like, whoa, thank you for giving me the visceral reality check that you eat live prey. And then 3 days ago, I was up very early. I was driving down live oak at 5:30 in the morning, and this incredible great horned owl almost hit my windshield, not with itself, but with its dangling, jerking prey. It had picked up the squirrel, and the squirrel was like twitching in its death throes, and this owl with a huge wingspan gleamed my windshield. It was incredible. And then for the next 3 days, all I saw were owls. Everywhere. Everywhere. I dreamt about them. I dreamt about wisdom, of gaining the wisdom behind everything. Owls know something. Owls mean something to me. Not just in like the cartoon weird existential force down your throat thing, but in my real life. It's such a rare occasion when I meet an owl, and every time I do, my heart races and jumps into my throat. They're amazing.
Yeah, and they last for a second.
It's just so fleeting. It's like an angel visits you. It's just like this flutter of wings, and it's like, did that really happen? Did I really see this thing with the giant eyes and the huge fluttering wings completely silently glean me and fly to the sun? Yes. It's deep.
Yeah.
The owls. Minerva.
So let's circle this around.
Sorry, I went off
It's
topic.
okay.
I
Let's
got all
wrap
witchy.
this up.
I'm
Let's
sorry, I
circle
got
this
all
around.
witchy and owls.
No, it's good.
Apologies.
It's good. Don't apologize. It's good.
My pagan shit comes out.
It sparked epiphanies in my head.
Really?
Yeah.
All I ever want to do is spark epiphanies in you.
So you were asking me last week, what is it that I've clearly been called to do something.
You're
What is
very
it that I'm called to
dedicated,
do?
right? I sense that about you. You have this whole other script that no one else is picking up.
And we've talked about it before, but I don't know that it's been a while, so it's probably gone from memory. But I'm a healer of healers. You know what I mean? I don't want to deal with people in need of healing. I want to deal with healers in need of healing.
Well, isn't that convenient for you to not want to be bothered with the riffraff?
Yeah, exactly.
How bourgeoisie.
Well, that's it though. But you say that's where that's the thing is healers don't believe they need healing. Healers believe they're the thing, and it's like I just want to be the earpiece for the healers to
wake
unload
up and
to,
recognize that
and
you
then
need
go
to
back to
cathartic
healing.
too. You need to.
I don't
speak
have
it.
the time or the patience to deal with the riffraff, as you say, the common person awakening. I just don't.
Because there's so much talking
But
involved in listening.
but the
length, the time duration of the talking and the listening, is that where you're hung up?
Yeah. No, but the healer who comes to me
Can speak concisely.
and also
different language.
And also I could be like, I just want to give encouragement to the healers.
The gross.
And this always, even when our second iteration of the retreat that didn't, another second thing that didn't happen was healers healing healers.
Right.
And so that's where I'm
It's
at. But
alchemy.
however, that is where I'm getting frustrated, is because I'm dealing. I'm like, just listen. I just guerrilla light workers. Let's save the planet.
Guerrilla light workers. Are you really ready to take on the renegades that represents? We're talking. When you say that, I think of environmental terrorists.
I think of people in El Salvador fighting for their freedom.
Fucking just in
the jungles.
The throes of everything that means the visceral pulse of life. We do this, maybe we die, maybe we don't. I'm going to do it even if I'm going to die. That sacrificial mentality that's pagan in nature, that feeds the nature that we're all grappling with. It's like this half of me feeds the pagan, and this half of me feeds the mentality that I could be better, and I could somehow never need to take any energy from another living being in order to build my own power. And that's what I want. I want to like live on my own power. Like I never want anything to suffer or hurt on account of myself. Yet, the only way I live and thrive is by absorbing, usurping, and taking the power of other living things. It's the human condition. It's so difficult. It's so difficult because I do believe in veganism, and I do believe in eliminating all kinds of animal cruelty. At the same time, I believe that plants also have a sentiency, so it's hard. It's really hard for me to even be a vegetarian because I feel like the plants are like, we've been here all along. We've been your staple. Like but they also want you to eat them because they've adapted the predatory thing where you can eat them and you gain their knowledge and then you spew their knowledge forth. That's not in vain.
But that's all things. Living things eat living things.
It's true.
Living things eat living things.
But you want to be godlike.
All living things, even vegetarians, even vegans. Living things eat living things.
And never have, like, that is my dream. I want to exist on a plane where I am glowing and full of love and nothing has suffered for me. Not Jesus dying on the cross. Jesus, I would never leave you on the cross. I would pull you down. I would be the bitch shot in the rib cage for trying to tear the nails out of your wrists. You know? Because I believe in love. And I believe in loving your neighbor through all of it and helping each other and being together. I would have been burned at the stake for trying to rip the nails out of Jesus' wrists.
At least 13 people were close, could call themselves close with Jesus, and none of them tried to rip him off the cross.
I can't believe that. I mean, it's hard for me, and that's my projection.
He might not have been the guy that everyone says he was.
Of what my ideal, just so fucking dedicated to the cause. Nail me up, motherfuckers, I don't care. I kind of respect it, and at the same time, I would have been like, you ain't going down like this, Jesus, I won't let you. And then I would have been killed also, and no one would know my name.
But also consider everything...
Right? No one would know my name.
Also consider everything written about Jesus was written after his death. So there was nobody writing that shit in real time.
Oh, but he was very controversial, so doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, but they were able to put words in his mouth after the fact.
True. He was probably pretty raw. He was probably a little rough around the edges. I still feel like I would have got that and I wouldn't let him. I would have tried. I would have died trying. Oh my gosh. I just admitted I would have been a sacrificial victim on the altar of the fictional Christ.
Why? Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I believe we go on. I believe that we manifest and re-manifest and re-manifest as we learn, and we will
Christ
come again.
Re-manifest?
Yes.
So why not just let him die and be re-manifested?
Because we loved that version of him. We loved that naivety,
we love that version of him now. Like I'm saying, it was written in hindsight.
The hope. The naivety of Christ. And now he's like, just tell him I work in mysterious ways, yo, and I'll get back to you.
And then here's Sarah Palin. Here's Sarah Palin. How's that hopey changing stuff working for you?
Changing something. I kind of like Sarah Palin though, just for the weird
what?
The weird shit that she is. Like she really owned her weird shit. Like she went hardcore, and so that gets a little respect, I guess.
Okay.
The fact that she got as far as she did, that she was on a national stage with that kind of mentality, says a lot about the reality of humanity's naivete.
Let me ask you something. Where do we go from here? What's the proper way forward?
The proper way forward.
Or I can do to you what you did to me last week, and we can save that for next week, but what's the proper way forward?
Let me breathe through
where
that.
Where do we go from here?
Because...
Think of where we are right now, and where do we go from here? Oh, the dogs are barking. I think that's the sign that...
We're to wrap it up?
We're to wrap it up.
Yeah, let me think on it and breathe on it a little bit. I like, I want to say off the cuff, but the guides are telling me, like, think on it.
I really hope that people listening who would like to talk to us will DM at a higher source on Instagram.
Are we weird?
And talk to us on Skype.
Are we weird?
I'm never so fucking weird.
Are we? I never wanted to be weird. I just wanted to be true.
Thank you for listening. Follow Hollee on Instagram at Ursus Esperanto. Follow Mark on Instagram at tincan.telephone. And be sure to follow us and read our cosmic messages on Instagram at a higher source. Participation in the digital realm will only help you transition between dimensions. We are free of our earthly forms in the digital realm. We flow through numbers. We write poetry in ones and zeros. Do you consider yourself a star seed? Would you like to speak with Hollee and Mark about your experiences in this dimension? Contact us on Instagram at a higher source and let us know. We'd love to add your voice to the conversation. Tune in next week as Hollee and Mark continue their fall down the rabbit hole, as they continue to peel back the layers of what it means to be a human living in the physical realm. Donations to a higher source are always welcomed. If you feel enriched from our message today, please consider visiting www.ahighersource.org and throwing a few dollars our way to help cover the costs of this earthly endeavor. Listen to A Higher Source on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and all of your favorite podcast apps. You can also listen on Open Lines Radio along with the other Open Lines Radio collection of podcasts at www.openlinesradio.com. Thank you for joining us. Until next week, we'll see you in the digital realm. Come play.